Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Juliet Ouma. I am the Programs Assistant at African Pharmaceutical Network, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to this industry discussion forum, where we will be handling a very crucial topic with regards to Ghana's model as the Regional Center of Regulatory Excellence, the RCORE in pharmacovigilance. And we have a representative from Ghana FDA, Dr. Adela Ashe. She'll be sharing on the experiences, perspectives, and best practices for us to learn from. And we are hoping that we can use these insights to better pharmacovigilance in our respective countries. So feel free to introduce yourself on the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, and please feel much appreciated and acknowledged in this room. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will be beginning in a few. But thank you for joining us in good time. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself on the chat. Let us know who you are and where you are joining us from. Fantastic. I can see some individuals here. Fantastic. Yeneswe, I can see you. Thank you for joining the meeting. Thank you. I can see Grace. I can see Moses, Priscilla, Samson. Thank you so much for joining us. Truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I can see you. Just give us a few minutes, then we will be able to start. But I can see our colleagues, more of our colleagues have joined us in this call. So in the interest of time, we will just commence. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning once again. My name is Juliet Ouma. I am the Programs Assistant at African Pharmaceutical Network, and it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you join us for this industry discussion forum, where we'll be discussing Ghana's model as the Regional Center of Regulatory Excellence in pharmacovigilance, and we'll be sharing on experiences, perspectives, and best practices. This industry discussion forum was created or curated in partnership with Ghana FDA and ISoP Africa chapter. And we truly acknowledge them as our partners and collaborators in this industry discussion forum. So with that, I will go through a few housekeeping rules. Then my colleague Lucy will take us through an overview of African Pharmaceutical Network and what we do as an organization. Then we will get to hear from our representative George from ISoP Africa chapter, where he will also be sharing about the organization. Then we will get to the discussion of the day with Adela taking us through the perspectives from Ghana FDA's model. Then we'll have a Q&A session, and then we will have a wrap-up session. So for the housekeeping rules, please note that this session is being recorded for future references. The recording will also be shared with you after the end within the next 5 days. You'll be having this recording with you. You may also note that your microphones and videos are off. This is to minimize background noise and also to enable us to continue engaging and participating in this session. Then you may use the chat box to share your comments, network, and ask any other questions. While you are engaging with the professionals in this call, we encourage you to engage respectfully. With regards to technical support, in case you are encountering any technical issues, we are here to support you. Please do let us know. You can text on the chat as well. With regards to contacting us, this is our email, secretariat@African Pharmaceutical Network. Should you have any concerns that you'd like to share with us, we welcome you to share them. For those who are joining us in Kenya, as you may have noticed, this industry discussion forum is CPD accredited. Please go ahead and subscribe for it on Pharmacy and Poisons Board portal. And with that, I want to welcome my colleague Lucy to take us through the overview of African Pharmaceutical Network. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you, Juliet. May I please share the slides on my end?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us and being with us here today. My name is Dr. Lucy Machocho, and I am pharmacist and the technical programs assistant here at African Pharmaceutical Network. And today I'll be taking you through African Pharmaceutical Network, who we are, what we do as an organization, and our reason for being. So African Pharmaceutical Network, we are a network, and what we do is bring professionals within the pharmaceutical industry in Africa. That is from the professionals, the stakeholders, the organizations, and we do this to be able to share knowledge, share policies, and nurture partnerships. And all this is to try to solve for the problem of reliable access to quality, safe, and effective health products for the African population. And why we exist. So during the COVID-19, we noted some gaps in the African pharmaceutical landscape and the interventions that were put forth to counter the challenges that the COVID pandemic brought with it. And some of those challenges were limited local manufacturing that is still apparent to now, with only very few countries being able to meet their pharmaceutical demand or health product demand in their country. Most of them are still importing 70 to 90% of the health products. And then we also noted a segregated and disjointed system. And in the interventions that were put forth, people are not coordinating in the different sectors, in the different domains, to see how can we put forth better interventions that ensure that we are effectively addressing the challenges that the COVID-19 has brought to us. We are not talking to each other. Interdisciplinary collaboration was not there. Someone from the pharmacovigilance space was not talking to someone from the regulatory affairs space and seeing how can they be able to have that cross-pollination of ideas to better enhance the interventions. And lastly, there was no single common platform to convince stakeholders on how we can better envision pharmaceutical industry that meets the needs of the population in Africa. So our mission is to ensure reliable access to safe, effective, and quality health products and technologies in Africa. And how we do this is through the key pillars of work that we have, that is pharmaceutical workforce development, business ecosystem support, and policy shaping interventions. The vision is also the same, that all people in Africa have reliable access to quality, safe, and effective health products and technologies. In our values, we have humanity at the core of it, because before we are anything else, we are human beings, and so you should treat whether you're a colleague or you're practicing in a setting, then you need to ensure humanity in whatever that you do. Integrity, because we need to be ethical and accountable in our ways of working. Professionalism, client value creation, and finally, teamwork. In our journey, we started, the company was founded in 2020. And in 2020, this is where we established the foundational principles that have shaped the organization to what it is today. And then in 2021, we had some inaugural industry discussion forums. This is core of our trainings under the Pharmacy Academy. And some of the ones that we started were in partnership with organizations or stakeholders like FKPM, Pharmaconnect Africa, IFPMA, and Bloom Public Health. And then in 2022, we signed the partnership with Empower School of Health and also had an official registration process for the company. In 2023, we established the Pharmacy Academy with the first new post in regulatory affairs and also signed some partnerships and members with IFPMA, HTB, Bloom Public Health as well. 2024, we scaled up the Pharmacy Academy to include two new courses, that is Pharmacovigilance and Patient Safety and Pharmaceutical Supply Chain. And we also had the business ecosystem support services also rolled out. And some of the services include market research and advisory support. So in our services, we have 4 key pillars, with the pharmaceutical workforce development being among our main, which is why we are gathered here today. This is part of what we do under the training. So we have trainings in the form of short courses and industry discussion forums to upskill and ensure that we, as professionals, we are practicing what is currently the best practices in the market and ensuring that we are constantly adapting to the evolving landscape or the pharmaceutical landscape and the regulations that shape it. In the regulatory support services, we act as a local technical representative, where we have regulatory services and have oversight of the product across the life cycle. This includes the pharmacovigilance oversight as well. Business ecosystem support, we conduct market intelligence, market research, talent management. Due to our trainings, we have a whole pool of talent where we can be able to support companies who require talent in the different spaces that we train for. We can be able to refer some of our alumni. And in the policy and shaping and partnership space, we advocate for reforms that ensure that the policies that are actually in place reflect the needs of the market, because that's the only way in which the businesses operating within the pharmaceutical landscape can actually thrive. And businesses thriving also means that the patient has access to reliable, quality, and effective health products and technologies. So who do we rely on to do what we do? We have a team of an advisory board, a leadership team, and a secretariat. In the advisory board, we have John Paul Omolo, who serves as the board chair, Christine Osai and Donald Mose. They are both practicing in different spaces, with John Paul Omolo being in the health quality space, currently working with Rush. Christine Osai is currently working at Humanities International within the private sector engagement as an advisor. Dr. Mose is within the clinical research, academia, and clinical testing. In the management team, we have this team of able talent with Dr. David Odiambo serving as our curator, Dr. Kevin Odoho serving as the head of operations, Esther Anyango as the knowledge management head, Danish Maisiba as the business support services head, and Dr. Anushi Patel as the head of the Pharmacy Academy. In the secretariat, you have myself and Ms. Juliet Ouma and Thomas Ogola. We have a membership. Given that we are networked, we have a membership where we have either individual or institutional. So in the individual membership, we have students and professionals. With students rate being at $5, and the professional rate being at $50. Some of the benefits that our members are able to get are training opportunities that are discounted rates, access to professional networks, job opportunities, and professional development, business consulting, of course, through the business ecosystem support, and thought leadership and industry discussion opportunities through such webinars. In our institutional, we have those that are based in Africa and those that are who are outside Africa, but would want to have operations within the African continent. So for these members, we have market intelligence, business linkages and partnerships based on their interests, of course. And they also access our business ecosystem support services at discounted rates. We also help them in shaping the policy landscape based on the challenges that they are facing while operating in the landscape. Some of our courses, as I had mentioned, we have the Pharmacy Academy, where we have trainings in the form of short courses and the industry discussion forums. In the trainings, these are some of the trainings that we have: regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical supply chain management, and pharmacovigilance and patient safety. Currently, we have enrollment for cohort 2. So for those who are interested, we will be happy to have you train with us. One of the reasons why we founded these courses, or rather launched the courses, was because there was a gap in terms of the curriculum of the pharmacy education or pharmacy degree and what is required in the job market. The competencies there was a mismatch in the competencies, and some of the gaps that were noted were in these fields. Hence why we rolled out courses in this field. And how we try to close that gap is by having professionals, the trainers themselves, being experts in the field. So they'll be able to train based on reflections that they've experienced in the field and best practices at that moment. And most of our courses, or rather all of our courses, go at $300. Currently we have enrollments for regulatory affairs and pharmacovigilance and patient safety, with the regulatory affairs training starting tomorrow, that is May 7th, and the pharmacovigilance and patient safety enrollment course starting on May 29th. Some of our partners so far include IFP, FIP, H3D, Empower Swiss, African Pharmaceutical Forum, Bloom Public Health, Ray Culture, and the Spark. So how can you engage with us? You can become a member, you can partner on projects, or you can learn with us. And with that, I believe I've come to the end of my presentation. I'll hand it over to Juliet.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lucy, for taking us through the overview of African Pharmaceutical Network so that we may be able to acquaint ourselves the organization and the kind of work that we are doing. And with that, I want to welcome George from ISoP Africa chapter. He'll be sharing with us and sharing an overview of ISoP Africa chapter and the work that they are doing at ISoP, so that we may see how can we then continue to engage as well with this fantastic organization, even when it comes to pharmacovigilance activities upon the continent. Welcome so much, George. You may take us away. Thank you. Please confirm that you are able to hear me.
Yes, Juliet, we can hear you. Not able to hear George.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much. George, if you are able to hear me, your microphone is enabled. You can unmute. And if you're having any challenges, please do let us know. All right. All right, then. I'll just give it a go again. George, if you are able to hear me, please do let me know. All right, then. Maybe we will give you a chance towards the end, but in the interest of time, please, I want to welcome Dr. Adela to take us through the critical part of this session. And in manner of welcoming and introducing Dr. Adela, I'll be sharing her bio so that we may at least acquaint ourselves with who she is. All right, George, if you're here.
Apologies, sorry.
It's all right.
I don't know how to start. What happens, I recently changed my laptop to a different thing, so I'm struggling to see how to even project now. I apologize to you, colleagues online.
All right,
now
if
the
you're
next thing is to show my PowerPoint presentation. What is from Windows to Mac, you struggle. So this is my first experience with presenting with my Mac, so just struggling. Dr. Kaza, would you want to help me get what?
Sorry about that. I hope you have someone on your end who is able to assist you.
Yes, I got somebody who is helping me get so now.
All right.
But I cannot pick it from the desktop. So these are the NRA presentation first lectures. I see on the desktop. I know what it's saying though. It's on the desktop. Yeah. Lucy, just a minute, please.
It's all right. That's all right. Alternatively, you can also share the slides via email and we'll be able to present for you if that's okay with you, in case you're not able to.
Screen. Yes, go there. Yeah. Okay, to save time, this example is not a big deal. You don't mind, or should I send it to you, Lucy?
Yes, please share. Then we can be able to project it for you. Please share via email, yes. Then we'll be able to project it for you.
Okay, so let me just start whilst I try to do that so that we don't spend time. So basically, once again, I apologize for this. It's one of those. I am giving you update on the African chapter. I'm doing this on behalf of the EC African chapter. So I'll talk about the overall chapter, highlights of some of the key activities and initiatives that we're doing, our collaboration and upcoming events. So as you may know, the African chapter was established in 2019. It's an independent non-profit. Members came from outside and inside Africa. They are many volunteers, and our objective is to advance pharmacovigilance on the continent. The chapter at the moment is not registered in any country. That's within or outside of Africa. Therefore, it's not a legal entity anywhere. Before establishing the chapter, we had that's African Society of Pharmacovigilance, who was managing pharmacovigilance activity on the continent, but that is now defunct. So the main body looking at pharmacovigilance in Africa with volunteers from within and outside the continent is ISoP Africa chapter. Executive members were inaugurated in July 2024 after an election in June 2024. At the moment, there are 4 executive members. We have conference with the president, we have Ellen, president. I am Secretary General of the chapter. And we have Jayesh Pandit, who is the treasurer of the chapter. We have 260 members in 32 countries, 9 within Africa, and 3 from outside Africa. About 50% of our members, that's 40% of our members are from Uganda. This is expected because we have last age in Uganda and a large participation from Uganda participants. So about 43% of our members are from Uganda and other countries. At the moment, we have 3 technical working groups. We have the research and academia technical working group, practice and regulatory technical working group, and then the public relations and communication technical work. These technical working groups help us to advance the cause of the chapter. The research and academia lead PV research and studies continent. They identify research needs and gaps, and they look at what areas we do research on the continent. The practice and regulatory technical working group look at the strengthening regulatory framework across the continent, advocate and influence for African Medicine Agency PV framework, and they also to help us develop standards for good vigilance practice on the continent. We have the public relations and communication technical working group. They are mainly involved in acting the chapter and developing public relations and communication strategies for the chapter. They also create awareness of PV activities on the chapter and our social media platform, which we have quite a lot. Our TW leads for regulatory and for regulatory and academia, we have Professor Helen Meyer from South Africa, then Dr. Mudugeta Rosum from Eritrea. For communications, we have Kennedy Odonkiro, he's online. Christopher Cox, she's also online. Then we have Tumi McKay, Dr. McKay, and Mrs. Abilachi, who will present to you soon. The regulatory practice technical working group. We've been involved in quite a number of activities recently. For the less than a year, we've done quite a number of things together with the technical working groups, helping us achieve these things that we've achieved. The research and academia technical working groups have started a study to look at the reasons why in Africa signals are rare in most things that come across. Signals, most regulatory authorities or signals that come out come from Africa. So there's an exploratory study ongoing to find out why African signals do not come from Africa. And then they also developed a research agenda for the continent. They started a mentorship program. Then practice and regulatory technical working group had a couple of all these technical working groups that I'm talking about have a number of meetings. And practice and regulatory start mobilizing members by having country focal persons. So if you are in a country, they ask you to please volunteer to the group as a country focal point. They also advocating for EMAV framework, and also did a meeting with PCT. Adila will talk about this later. Then the public relations and communication technical working group. What they do that they have a weekly newsletter. I'm sure you might have received the newsletter. The newsletter talks about our activities, our plans, and what we are doing on country regulatory pharmacovigilance. Recently, they, together with the EC, they have a column called Spotlight. The objective of the Spotlight is to profile persons who have contributed significantly to pharmacovigilance on the continent. And the first one came from Professor Rashida in Morocco, who has helped develop PV on the continent. And if my memory serves me right, she was the president of ISoP at the time. Then recently there is a brochure that the Public Relations and Communication Technical Working Group is developing, and the brochure is to promote PV activities on the continent. And there is a big thing that the Technical Working Group for Communication is doing. They, together with some of the members, are translating all chapter documents into French. So you know we have the documents in English, but they come in French also. We also have bi-monthly meetings. Every 2 months we have meetings, and the meetings are to present scientific habits on the continent and other continental members and areas of interest to our members to be interested in. The last year, December, we had one. That meeting we made a present to members on our plans and activities for the year 2025. In February, we had another one with Dr. Crystal Kayam presenting her PhD project. And last month, I had returned to present on the exploring patient role in medical safety in Africa. I want you to attend the one that is scheduled for 10th June 2025. Our meetings are at 9:30 a.m. GMT. So please try and participate in that meeting. I think at the end of this, I will share with you the link in the chat box. And you can also follow our social media platforms. So another thing that has done is that we have developed a strategy plan for 2020 to 2027, outlining the plan and what we want to do for the next 2 or 3 years. We have shared with all members last night. We expect members to provide updates to us by 28th of May 2025. And we'll implement those and see how we can move pharmacovigilance forward on the continent. As you know, there is a 24th ISoP annual meeting coming up in Cairo from 24th to 27th of October 2025. And the extra submission has started, and we are all supposed to register in the program. What we have done is that we're supposed to have our general meeting this year, but we rescheduled that to next year so that we can support fully the ISoP meeting in Cairo, because it's also up on the continent. During this meeting, the chapter is having a session so we have negotiated with the organizers. The chapter has a session. We have a general meeting coming up, and we also have a scientific session that's going to come up. And the scientific session will discuss updates from AMA and others scientific issues. So if you register for the session, for the annual meeting, you should look for the session and participate. It's coming up second day of the conference, Cairo. We plan to have our annual general meeting next year. It's going to be an in-person meeting. The date is going to be in May or June, so you can put your calendar 2026. We have got a few countries that are interested, and by June 10th, when we're having a biannual meeting, we'll call the host country to have very interesting countries and very exciting countries that are bidding to host the program. So we'll communicate that to you by June at our biannual meeting. Our collaborations, what we're doing this is a collaboration that with the ABN, and there are other collaborations coming up. We are working with the PE Academy and others. So when those come up, we will get you involved, and we'll promote the chapter in those platforms. We are in the process of signing an MOU with the PE Academy and a third one. So as those are done, those will be communicated with the members. What the benefit of being a member of ISoP African chapter? There are several benefits. We have online programs, online meetings to get scientific ideas and discussions. So you pay from this. You also enjoy reduced fees for ISoP programs if you are in any annual general meeting of ISoP. you have full access to all publications in drug safety. Drug safety is one of the best journals in pharmacovigilance. You have access to that. You also attend our webinars that we have every 2 months. And you have access to pharmacovigilance activities, both from industry, regulation, and academia. So this is why I want to end the presentation. Thank you so much. If there are specific questions, I'll answer them. Thank you. And I apologize for the technical issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, George, for sharing that overview from ISoP Africa chapter. And we have individuals and representatives from different organizations who are keen on working with you, exploring different areas of collaboration when it comes to strengthening pharmacovigilance in Africa. Definitely sure that they will be reaching out to you. We encourage each and every one of us that we collaborate, we engage so that we are able to advance the pharmaceutical industry upon the continent and ensure that that which is honorable, that which should be done and our goals, that they are being attained. So with that, I would like to welcome Adela so that she can take us through the presentation that she has prepared for us for our learning so that we may gain insights and see how is it that we can learn from Ghana FDA when pharmacovigilance practices. And in manner of introducing her, I would like to read her bio. I can see that Adela's presentation is coming up. So I'd like to read her bio so that we can be acquainted with who she is and the work that she's doing. So Adela Ashie is a pharmacist with over 17 years of experience in pharmacovigilance. She holds a master's in international health from the University of Nottingham at the United Kingdom, and she's currently the head of vigilance unit under the Safety Monitoring Department at Ghana FDA. Adela is involved in strengthening of pharmacovigilance systems in Ghana through education of stakeholders, including healthcare professionals and the general public. Adela's recent works have been assisting pharmaceutical companies in Ghana to establish efficient pharmacovigilance systems through the training of qualified persons for pharmacovigilance and the conduct of good pharmacovigilance practice inspections since 2016. She is also involved in initiatives to strengthen pharmacovigilance towards improving patient safety on the continent. With that, welcome so much, Adela. We are here to listen to you and to learn from Ghana FDA's experiences, best practices, and perspectives. Karibu sana. Adela, if you are speaking, you are on mute. Please confirm that you can hear me. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, let me get the presentation up and then into slide mode. Okay, thank you very much and good afternoon, colleagues online. I'd like to say thank you to AFN for the invitation to share Ghana's model as a regional center of regulatory excellence in pharmacovigilance and industry perspectives and experience. And thank you for the kind introduction. So our presentation today will look at regulation of drugs of medicines in Ghana. We'll look at PV collaborations, which is one of our key strategies as an RCORE, and the role of FDA as an RCORE and its impact on the continent. So I'll start with an overview of FDA's regulatory system. So as most of us know, FDA is the medicine regulatory agency of Ghana. It's Ghana in the West Africa. The Food and Drugs Authority was established in 1997 as the Food and Drugs Board under the PNDC law, that's the Food and Drugs Law 1992, 305B. And then in 2012, the PNDC law was integrated into what we call the Public Health Act, Act 851. Now, there were significant changes to regulation of medicines in Ghana based on this act, because one of the key things is that it strengthened what we do when it comes to pharmacovigilance. So if anybody Googles the Public Health Act 2012, Act 851, they'll find that the Food and Drugs Authority's activities or mandate is in Part 7, 6, and 8 of the Public Health Act. The Food and Drugs Authority currently performs all regulatory functions except for lot release, which will be starting very soon once manufacturing companies start manufacturing the vaccines. And then FDA is currently at WHO maturity level 3. Now, a regulatory center of excellence is part of what the NEPAD is doing to strengthen regulation of medicines on the continent. The objective is that there were some gaps in regulatory capacity and activities of the mixed regulatory authorities, which hindered access to quality and safe medicines in a timely manner. So there are currently 11 RCOREs, or regional centers of regulatory excellence, performing 8 different functions. Now, the FDA is currently an RCORE for pharmacovigilance with the University of Ghana Medical School. It's also an RCORE for registration and evaluation and clinical trials oversight. So that's MANCT. And also in 2023, the FDA was made an RCORE for vaccines, meaning that for all the regulatory functions, when it comes to vaccine regulation, the FDA is an RCORE for these activities. Now, looking at the FDA as an RCORE for PV, I mentioned that the FDA's mandate is in Part 6, 7, and 8 of the Public Health Act. When you look at pharmacovigilance, our activities are mainly in Part 7 and Section 125 and Section 148. So Section 125 is mainly for the safety monitoring, that's pharmacovigilance, and that has 3 subsections, 1 and 2, which relates to marketing authorization holders. So the subsection 1 says that marketing authorization holders must have qualified persons for pharmacovigilance in Ghana who have oversight of the safety monitoring of their products that are marketed. And subsection 2 says that marketing authorization holders must monitor the safety of these products and report adverse reactions to the Food and Drugs Authority. And this is one of the key things that was strengthened when we moved from the PNDC Law 305B to the Public Health Act. Before then, in the PNDC Law 305B, PU was just mentioned that FDA was responsible for the safety of medicines, but there were not legally binding requirements on manufacturers or marketing authorization holders. And so this was a big game changer for regulation of medicines in Ghana. Subsection 3 of the Section 125 talks about the responsibilities of the Food and Drugs Authority and says that they are mandated to put in the necessary measures and procedures to ensure that medicines are safe. One unique thing about the Public Health Act is that in Section 125, it provides that the guidelines that the Food and Drugs Authority makes are legally binding. And so you can actually undertake regulatory actions based on the things that are stated in the guidelines. When it comes to PV, we have 5 guidelines, but the first 4 are mainly of high interest for marketing authorization holders in the country. So the first one talks about adverse reaction reporting. That talks about who is going to report, when you are reporting, what you should report, and how you should report, and has additional information for marketing authorization holders when it comes to special requirements for reporting. The safety monitoring of medicinal products guidelines is what I'll term the Bible for marketing authorization holders in Ghana, because it talks about what is required by marketing authorization holders to comply with the PV requirements when it comes to reporting requirements, submission of regulatory documents, conduct of post-authorization safety studies, or variations. All these requirements are stated in there. The third guideline, that selection of qualified person for pharmacovigilance, talks about who a qualified person for pharmacovigilance should be. It talks about what the qualifications are. It talks about what trainings they must have, how long they can be qualified person for pharmacovigilance, and also talk about their roles and responsibilities. Then the fourth guideline talks about conducting pharmacovigilance inspections. So this one tells you when inspections can be conducted, how they are conducted, who the responsible persons who need to be there for the inspections are, what the MAH needs to do before, during, and after the inspections, and the documents that are evaluated. So these, I said, are the main guidelines for marketing authorization holders. The fifth guideline is generally for everybody and provide guidance to both healthcare professionals and patients on the surveillance of adverse events following immunization, so vaccine safety monitoring. In Ghana, reports of safety issues is voluntary for patients and healthcare professionals. However, for marketing authorization holders, based on the provisions in subsection 1 and 2 of the Public Health Act, section 125, it is mandatory for industry to report these safety issues to the Food and Drugs Authority. Ghana's PV journey to date has spanned over 25 years, and key milestones have been identified with key activities being performed. So we started as far back as 1999, when we were just collecting adverse drug reactions and then putting them together. And this was done with the University of Ghana School of Medicine. In 2001, following a lot of discussions and collaborations with the UMC, the WHO, the Food and Drugs Authority was designated as the National Center for Pharmacovigilance in Ghana. And so we joined the WHO program for international drug monitoring. In 2005, we established the first safety committee. So these are independent experts who advise the FDA on safety monitoring, perform causality assessment and benefit risk assessment to help us take the regulatory decisions that we need to take to ensure public safety. In 2012, when the Public Health Act became into full force, there was a revision of the law, and that's what I mentioned that gave powers to the FDA and specific requirements for industry to follow when it comes to pharmacovigilance. To support these changes in the Public Health Act, new guidelines were developed to align with the new law. And the guidelines I just mentioned were those that were developed. Again, as part of the regulatory requirements of dissemination, we also developed the first drug lens, which is our safety newsletter, which is published annually and talks about the PV activities that the FDA has been engaged in the year. Again, in 2015, following a lot of stakeholder engagement from 2013, 2014, we organized what we have as the first qualified person for pharmacovigilance training, which was a prototype training for QPPVs, and that was the first ever everywhere in the world. And this was because we saw a need to actually start the requirements for the GVP activities on a very strong note, where qualified persons for pharmacovigilance were trained to know what their roles were supposed to be and what their functions they are going to do, how to set up PV systems, and what were the resources that they needed. Following that, in 2016, we started conducting the good pharmacovigilance practice inspections, and then we also launched patient safety reporting through direct reporting to the FDA. Also, we established a second safety expert committee for vaccines and biologicals, and it was in line with best practices because more and more new vaccines were being first introduced into the country, and there was a need for a focused and dedicated team to review these safety reports to ensure safety of the patients. Following all these activities in 2020, following WHO assessment, the PV function at the Food and Drugs Authority was assessed at WHO maturity level 4, the first ever on the continent. In 2023, as I mentioned, FDA became an RCORE for vaccine regulatory in Africa. If you look at the PV system in Ghana, you'll find that the activities are conducted by the Safety Monitoring Department of the Vaccines Vigilance and Clinical Trials Directorate of the Health Products and Technology Divisions. So in FDA, you have the chief executive, then you have the divisions. So under the Health Products and Technology Divisions, we have a directorate called Vaccines Vigilance and Clinical Trials. So if you look at the flow chart, you realize that there are 3 departments: Vaccines and Biological Products Department, Safety Monitoring, and Clinical Trials. And the Safety Monitoring has 3 units under that department. That's the Vigilance, the Risk Management, and the Advertisement and Product Information unit. The FDA currently has 31 staff who are involved in pharmacovigilance, 15 at the national level, and then 16 at the regional level. So those are the minimum number that we have. The qualifications of the PV team include PhDs, include pharmacists, those who have masters in public health programs, those who have masters in clinical pharmacology. We also have staff who have masters in health informatics, and we have degrees in BSc, physician assistants, and also nursing. The scope of activity that's undertaken at the PV Center include mainly our core activity, which is looking at awareness creation and education of healthcare professionals, patients, and the general public on the need to monitor and report safety issues to medical products. We also maintain the National Safety Database. The FDA has its own in-house database, that's the Safety Watch System, which is periodically mined for signals and decision-making. The FDA also reviews safety updates, including PSURs, review label variations, and communicate changes in safety information to healthcare professionals and stakeholders. The FDA provides feedback to healthcare professionals, industry, and patients on all reports that are received. If there's a product that requires a risk management plan, these are requested as part of the marketing authorization process. And the FDA Safety Monitoring Department reviews this and also follows up on implementations of the risk minimization activities that might be part of the safety monitoring activities of that product. The FDA conducts good procurement practice inspections and coordinates the expert committees of the authority. And I also mentioned the drug lens that the FDA produces and also other behavior change communication materials to encourage reporting of safety issues to the FDA. When it comes to review of ICSRs to help with safety issues identification, the reports are received from healthcare professionals, patients, and also pharmaceutical industry. The report from healthcare professionals and patients come through our regional offices because of the decentralized processes that we have, or decentralized system that we have in Ghana. We have various reporting tools to make it more convenient for patients and healthcare professionals to report. So these include paper forms, we also have electronic forms, and also allow for telephone reporting. For the electronic forms, we have the web, which is the MedSafety. We have the web, which is the Safety Watch System, our database, and also a mobile app, that's the MedSafety app that was launched in 2019. As part of activities to strengthen PV in every healthcare facility in the country, we have persons that we have designated as institutional contact persons, and these are staff of the hospital or healthcare facility that serve as liaison between the FDA and the healthcare facility, and they coordinate the PV activities in their various institutions. I also mentioned that we have the expert committees who review the safety issues and help us make risk-based decisions. And they also implement regulatory actions based on safety data that we receive and send safety communications, including their healthcare professional letters, implementation of other risk minimization measures, and if necessary, product withdrawal. So the flow chart on the right side just shows the flow of information from the patient through the healthcare professionals who are the primary reporters to our institutional contact persons. Then we have the RPOs, those are the regional pharmacovigilance officers, who the information goes to in the regional offices. All the information ends up at the Safety Monitoring Department of the FDA, that's the national center, and then it goes into our database. The FDA shares its data with the WHO database, so database has information from Food and Drugs Authority. We have the expert committee reviewing it for signal and then possible regulatory actions. So these are some of the key good PV practices requirements that we have in the country. For example, risk management plans are required for new chemical entities and biologicals, biosimilars, as may be required, or some other products that we have designated in the guidelines for safety monitoring of medicinal products. And in Ghana, we accept the EU RMP. In the case where there are variations to indications or disease profile or risk minimization measures that are being implemented, we might request for a Ghana-specific annex to the RMP. PSURs are also requested, or PBRs are requested to be submitted for all medicinal products. And these for new chemical entities are requested to be submitted 6 monthly for the first 2 years, and also at the time of renewal of the drug, or when FDA requests for a PSUR or a PBR to be submitted. The FDA conducts both routine and unannounced good pharmacovigilance practice inspections on a risk-based approach that takes into consideration the intrinsic and extrinsic factors of the marketing authorization holders. So a comprehensive matrix has been developed to calculate the risk of an AMRH to determine how often or the frequency of inspection of that particular marketing authorization holders. Post-authorization safety studies and post-authorization efficacy studies may also be required by the FDA, and these will either be voluntary or imposed by the FDA based on the safety profile of that product. Safety variations are also evaluated and approved by the Safety Monitoring Department. So if there are any changes, safety-related changes to the SMPC or patient information leaflet, these are sent to us directly or through the registration department to the Safety Monitoring Department, and these are reviewed and the changes are published on the FDA's website so that healthcare professionals and patients can see what the changes are for safe prescription and use by their clients. Feedback on reviews given to marketing authorization holders within 30 days, between 90 days, of receipt of the application. And the safety communications are provided throughout the product lifecycle that's approved by the authority. The FDA has, over the years, extensively implemented good pharmacovigilance practice requirements. And as I mentioned, one of the strong interventions or strategies that we use to get this done was the introduction of the qualified person for pharmacovigilance training. The benefit of this is that it helps identify persons who are qualified to do the work based on their background. So that's a prerequisite that the person must have at least a degree in the medical health related field. And the course also provide both local and international information on how the QPV should perform, what resources and systems that they need to do the activity. So since 2015, the FDA has organized 14 of these programs. We've also had international participants from Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda participating in these programs. So far, 225 qualified persons for pharmacovigilance have been trained, with 22 designated by the authority. So this on the graph on the right side shows the number of people that have been trained over the period. Okay. The slide doesn't seem to be changing again. Okay, thank you. So as part of procedures to ensure compliance by the marketing authorization holder of the GVP requirements, good pharmacovigilance practice inspections are conducted. Now, these inspections are conducted to look at the PV system in Ghana. So in Ghana, we request that the qualified person for pharmacovigilance is resident in Ghana. And so the inspections are conducted on the PV systems in Ghana. So far, we've done 113 GVP inspections on a risk-based approach. And of these, 22 are innovator marketing authorization holders and 91 are generic manufacturers. So the graph on the right also shows the distribution of inspections over the period since 2016. The FDA contributes its data to VGBase. This graph is just showing us the reporting of ISoP at the source. So if you look at the majority of the ISoP over the years have always been from healthcare professionals. This is because of our strategy of having the institutional contact persons and also continuous awareness creation in healthcare facilities. Each month, every region is expected to do not less than 3 trainings at hospitals. And these are done at their morning meetings and also have trainings for student healthcare professionals. We also have the curriculum of nursing students, which includes PV. So these activities over the years have contributed to a lot of awareness creation on the part of healthcare professionals on the need to report. Also, we have some reports coming from industry, but then following the HCP and the report that received directly from patients, most of these either by the app or by telephone calls, or also by another initiative that we have called the Patient Safety Centers, where the patients report the information to community pharmacies that are in their neighborhood. So this is the contribution of Ghana to the VG-base. So Ghana has contributed 29,000 plus reports to VG-base, and that's from 3.1% of ICSRs from Africa. We could do more, and so a lot of activities are being done geared towards this activity. And we are the 10th largest contributor from Africa out of the 50 member states. Want to look at the impact of Ghana's PV activities on patient safety. This can be seen in the signals that we have identified and the regulatory actions that have been taken based on these actions. For example, there was a case of fetal resorption following a pregnant woman taking artesunate as a single therapy. And this was a woman who had twins, and then they could not actually see the baby after the first trimester of pregnancy, and that was after she had taken artesunate. So this is actually published in one of the drug safety journals published by the UMC. Also, severe jaundice vitamin K injections in neonates, and this was reported from 2 different facilities in 2 regions, where mainly in males who were given vitamin C were rather bleeding instead of developing clotting factors. And analysis showed that this was the wrong analog of vitamin K that was brought in. And if you follow up, you show that this was an unregistered product on the market. So PV actually helps us to identify a lot of unregistered products or substandard products that are on the market. Also had cases of oral quinine-induced bleeding and incomplete abortion in some pregnant women, which we presented to the National Malaria Control Program then in Ghana. And then this was reviewed because of the abortifacient properties of quinine, and they now did a short dose quinine with erythromycin. We also had some cases of therapeutic ineffectiveness of Vipacane hydrochloride injections, which were quite a lot, and most of these were unregistered and had to be withdrawn from the market. There was also a case of chlorhexidine gel in cord sessions. So chlorhexidine gel is actually used for cord care for newborn babies. I received about 22 reports from different facilities where there were reports of poor healing, if I can term like that, of the cord and when the gel was attached. And this was communicated to the Family Health Division and was one of the recommendations following the signal management activities was proper training of midwives to also communicate the right information to mothers about cord care, that they need to clean the cord properly and apply the gel with clean hands so that it's not contaminated. Then adverse reactions and therapeutic ineffectiveness to anti-snake venom was also reported in several facilities in the northern part of the country. And one of the following investigations realized that there were different manufacturers for the anti-snake venom. However, healthcare professionals were using the same dosing regimen for all of them, even though the different manufacturers had different dosing regimen. So one of the risk minimization activities that we did was ask manufacturers to develop posters to exactly explain the dosing regimen for their particular brand of the anti-snake venom, and also to do training for healthcare professionals. And when this was done, we followed it up over a period of time, and we didn't have those reports coming in. And so we assessed it as an effective risk minimization measure. As I mentioned earlier on, one of our key strategies as an RCORE is regulatory collaborations, because through regulatory collaborations, we're able to strengthen our capacity as FDA, and we're also able to support other countries based on our experience and the knowledge that we have. One of the regulatory authorities that we've been collaborating with for a very long time, the Medicines and Health Product Regulatory Agency of the UK. we have been working with them since 2010 when it comes to data sharing for signal detection. So we share our data with them for signal mining. We also work with them when we wanted to introduce direct patient reporting. We needed to develop the patient reporting forms. We also work with them in the introduction of the Med Safety app, one of our electronic reporting tools. We've also had a lot of capacity building from them in terms of review of risk management plans and product safety update reports and the conduct of good pharmacovigilant practice inspection through regulatory attachments. So the picture here is one of our QPPVs in 2017, receiving a certificate from our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Delise Darko. And then looking on was then the Director of Vigilance and Risk Management of Medicines at the MHRA and Chair of the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Group of EMA, Dr. June Wen, who after her contribution has currently retired from active service. They've also collaborated with the Netherlands Pharmacovigilance Center, and two key activities that we've done with them was the introduction of patient reporting, looking at how they implemented and how they utilized patient reports that they received, where we also had staff going on regulatory attachment to these centers. And then also we had trainings from them when it comes to signal management for both staff of the FDA and also the expert committee members. Very active ongoing collaborations that we have also is with the Paul Ehrlich Institute, that is PI. We work with them in the introduction of hemovigilance, where they supported with the development of hemovigilance framework and policy, and also designing training for stakeholders on hemovigilance. So this is ongoing activity that we are having with them. Sorry. Then also capacity building, then they took part in the PV fellowship program that they organized. It was an 8-week program that the FDA attended. And this was very detailed training that helped build the capacity of FDA staff. And there's an ongoing project based on this one, where the FDA, based on that training, supports other countries that PI is supporting to build their capacity. And even currently, as of now, we are working with them, with some regulators on our RCORE for good pharmacovigilance practice inspections that we have modeled for. On the continental level, the FDA collaborates extensively with the AU3S program. So the African Union Smart City Surveillance Program that is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with technical support from the Medicines and Health Products Regulatory Agency. So the AU3S program, if I can say a little about it, was developed based on some of the challenges of PV on the continent, including limited safety data packages from product launch throughout the life cycle, low reporting of adverse events across the country, where there are siloed PV systems that are not sharing information. If you come to a country, the NRA has its own safety data. Other public health programs like we have safety data that they are not sharing, analyzing together to act on, and also limited expertise, for example, signal detection and risk management. So the whole AU3S program is to make sure that there's improved medicines and vaccine safety for patients on the continent and globally. And the objective is that African-owned safety data for African decision making to strengthen PV on the continent through the training activities that they conduct. And then by that strengthening ability, there'll be more confidence in the products that we put on the market, especially during emergency response. One of the key benefits that the FDA has had from them is the training capacity when it comes to benefit risk assessment of staff, signal management, and then also awareness creation, because actually support a lot of promotional activities for the general public during the COVID-19. And currently, the AU3S has inaugurated its vigilance technical committee, and that when the AMA becomes functional, is going to advise the AMA on pharmacovigilance activities. So these are key things that they want to do to harmonize PV activities on the continent based on other activities that people are doing. So looking at FDA as an RCORE for stronger patient safety on the continent. And one of our key things that we believe in is that it's not just about Ghana having a strong PV system. It's not about Ghana having the expertise alone, but it's about Ghana's PV expertise being beneficial to everybody on the continent. Because if we register safe products and we are monitoring our products, you could have products from neighboring countries coming in because of the flow of everybody, people on the continent. And so we believe in sharing and contributing our expert knowledge to regulators and industry on the continent so that together we can have better patient safety on the continent. So these are some of the monitoring activities that we've been doing. In 2022, we worked with the Karolinski Institute and Sweden, Netherlands, LAREP PV centers to organize what we call the train of trainers for QPPVs for 45 participants. So these were the NRAs in East Africa who took part, so that gradually over the period, more countries will be implementing the GVP requirements. And in 2021, June, July, we had collaboration with West Africa with PI, where there was a hands-on PV benchmarking for 3 NRAs that came to Ghana for a couple of weeks. And then there were 9 participants for this one. Also, when it comes to sharing knowledge, ISoP Africa Chapter Platform has one of the key platforms that the FDA uses to share knowledge. And as Dr. Sabla said, he's also putting expertise there and not keeping all it in Ghana. So even though he's our head of safety monitoring, he's sharing his expertise on the African chapter platform so that together we can all have the strength that we need. And even as I speak now, there's ongoing collaboration with the Thai activity that we did in 2022, where regulators from these same countries are coming for that in-depth RCORE on our GVP inspection modules that we have to strengthen their activities. So what is FDA's contribution on the continent as an RCORE? We believe that we've had a high impact on the continent, and most of the NRAs that we collaborate with also look up to us to lead PV on the continent. For example, when it comes to development of the GVP requirements or implementation of GVP requirements, FDA has taken a role with a model strategy on how to start. And we have several countries that have started based on identifying the need, stakeholder engagement, training QPPVs, and empowering them to do the activity. And these, most of them have collaborated with us. Some come to our QPPV program to learn how this can be done so that they can adapt it in their country based on their particular context. And also, we have a model strategy for implementation of the GVP inspections, a very comprehensive strategy that involves scheduling of PV inspections, what to look at during the inspection, including field and practice. We also have managing of the inspection itself. It's not just going for the inspection, but when it comes, how do you manage your CAPA? How do you do your inspector qualification? So these activities have also been extensively developed and tested, and we are sharing our knowledge with regulators on the continent. We had colleagues coming last year, November. We had colleagues coming February this year. And then we currently are in one of those GVP RCORE inspections that we are doing. When it comes to pharmaceutical industry, the model training for QPPV actually opened the eyes of the international, the global marketing authorization holders on the need to have QPPVs on the continent and the need to involve them in the activities. For example, we go for inspection, we ask the QPPV, are you involved in the global PV activities? Show us the evidence. And because of that, they know that they must involve them. So it has created additional career options for industry personnel instead of mainly regulatory affairs or mainly commercial. We have safety experts who are also a new core staff when it comes to industry. And we have colleagues who have actually risen from Ghana and at regional or levels in PV leads on the continent. So we believe that it was because of the model training that we had and then the way we supported the QPV, because not just about training them and leaving them there, but having regular forums where we discuss what are the challenges of implementing the requirements and how we can improve on it. In all this, we've had some challenges and also appreciate the enablers that has helped us come to where we are. One of the key challenges over the period that we've actually tried to work on is the staff strength and staff numbers. So I remember around 2012, we just had about 6 of them, but we realized in the presentation about 31 staff now. The expertise was also not really there, but over the years, deliberate training, making ourselves available for capacity training, and also through our collaboration, I can say that our colleagues have good expertise when it comes to PV. Funding, most countries have this issue because especially when PV does not directly bring revenue into the NRA, but there are ways to go about that. So funding for staff capacity building, implementation of new initiative, and awareness creation was also one of the challenges that we had support to overcome through our collaboration and being purposeful about capacity building. And then also we have industry buy-in and support for the GVP implementations. So actually having MAs agree that we must have QPPVs, having global international company knowing that the QP must be resident in Ghana, the technical capacity of the QPP, the resources, access to the database, access to literature references, access to resources to train other people are things that we needed to have discussions. And we address this by having a forum for managers of the pharmaceutical companies to let them appreciate what the requirements are and let them know that having a strong safety system is good for the company in the long run, because if there's bad safety information, there's no commercial activity for the country, for the company, and then there's no profit for the company. So that approach has been helpful. One of our key enablers that I'll say is leadership of management. Define vision and commitment. We knew what we wanted to do. It's not just about Ghana, but it's about Africa. And we needed to build our capacity to show that we can do it in Ghana, to show the African countries that we can help you, you can work on it together. And to also let them know that it can be done. Because if one country does not, we'll always be dependent on somebody else to show us the way. And so leadership, providing the vision, providing the opportunity has been one of our strong enablers. Collaboration with the AU3S, MHR, LAREB, giving their technical knowledge, funding activities that we do has also been helpful. And then locally with the public health programs, especially with the expanded program on immunization, on the control program, to help us to make sure that their staff are reporting safety issues has also been very helpful. Staff capacity strengthening, I mentioned deliberate recruitment and training. We have an extensive training manual or training how staff should be trained when you come in, what training you must have, at what point in time you must do this training. And so that has helped. And based on annual appraisal, we're able to identify that based on the job function, the staff needs this kind of training. And we are always looking out for opportunities where it can be done. It's not always external trainings. We actually use a lot of online training, self-paced training, so that staff can actually have all these things before they can go on maybe practical sessions in other countries. And then the icing of it all, the passion of staff. Staff are passionate. Our leadership is passionate to make sure that patient safety is there and everybody is contributing its quota. Lot of opportunities for AGA to enhance people on our continent is that's when the initiatives going on. You have AU3S, you have African CDC, ISoP chapter, and all the other initiatives. So we are able to lend our expert knowledge to these initiatives. For AU3S, we were part of the pilot countries and contributed to the strengthening of that project. We serve on the technical working group for the Africa AU Prague and then the Afrovigilance. We serve on the AU3 Vigilance Committee. So based on the expertise, we are shaping the regulation and the framework for PV on the continent, and we are happy to do that. Africa CDC to support in strengthening the capacity of staff of other NRAs. These are initiatives in the early stages that we are ongoing discussion to see how we can have staff also come to FDA to see what we do, and then also model their NRAs after based on what we have learned. And also ISoP African chapter, with the secretary being a head of department, a lot of staff being part of the development of the policy, serving of working groups. We are also encouraging countries to look at it and push their members to be out there and to support. You don't have to know everything, but as we work together, we share knowledge and then we strengthen each other. Again, most countries are aiming at reaching the minimum maturity level 3 on the GBT, but Ghana haven't gone through this twice, and the trends that we have able to support other NRAs to get there. And we are currently doing one of these with Gates Foundation to support one of our sister agencies to actually reach ML3. Regulatory benchmarking visit for practical GBP inspections, where we had several of these being done. Then I'd also like to introduce our PV RCORE program. This is a comprehensive program for regulators and healthcare professionals at various levels of PV expertise. So this is the Governance Training Manual for Regional Center of Regulatory Excellence for Capacity Building for Regulators and National PV Center staff. So this is a fellowship program, 4-week extensive program, but they can take different modules of it because you're actually organizing one that will be starting next month. And then this could have virtual sessions, but we prefer most of it to be hands-on. So this one, it consists of 4 compulsory theoretical modules and practical hands-on sessions, including participation in good conduct practice inspections, and then our expert committee meeting. So this is exciting times for the FDA. They are looking forward to actually putting all the knowledge and the different trainings that we do into a comprehensive module that somebody can actually take and say that I've completed the PV fellowship program. That is an RCORE provided by the Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say that the FDA has made great progress in PV over the last 25 years. As an RCORE, the FDA is focused not only on patient safety in Ghana, but the continent as a whole. We cannot go alone. We want to go with everybody because the medicine can move from any part of Africa and it can come to Ghana. And so we should do it together. The FDA continuously contributes its expert knowledge and resources to initiatives aimed at strengthening PV on the continent based on this passion of Africa as a whole. The development of strategies for implementation of GBP requirements on the continent has provided guidance for many NRs to follow and provide opportunities for regulatory staff in the pharmaceutical industry with new career paths that are being followed. We also acknowledge that key enablers that have ensured PV achievement include management commitment, local international collaboration, staff passion, and dedication. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adela, for taking us through that great presentation. We have truly indeed gotten some insights that we can use in our different regions so that we can be able to adhere to standards. The NRAs that have also joined us in these industry discussion forums, there are those who are also looking to see how then can they also apply some of the best practices that you have at Ghana FDA in their NRA so that they can be able to improve access to safe, quality, and effective medicines. And just as you have said, it is all about going together. If Africa as a continent is to get to the place where other continents are, if an African country is to compete with other countries at the global scale when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, manufacturing, clinical research, pharmacovigilance, we have to up our game and just get to that place. And with the RCOREs, we are heading towards that place. So mine is to encourage each and every one of us with the insights that we have gotten here, that we actually take them on board and see how then can we improve. You are an HCP market, and you can also be a market authorization holder when you are fulfilling your vigilance functions. How then do you also meet the regulations, being in compliance with the regulations of the NRA? These are the things that we are also helping you understand in this industry discussion forum. So Adela, I have some questions here for you from the participants. And clearly, most of them are very keen. And I have Patricia here, and she's saying there are investors who want to invest in Africa, but the quality of the manufacturing process is often in question. What do you think we can do to rest assure investors that have the capacity? How do we help?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, the line was a bit shaky earlier. So it's true. As you are looking at it, even Africa on its own is looking at more manufacturing on the continent to ensure that there's access to the medicines. But again, it must be access to quality medicines and not just access to medicines. So what can we do to assure industry? Is to make sure that we have built the right systems that are there, because what people can see is systems that lead to results. You do not have to take ad hoc processes in trying to reach where everybody has reached, but we should be strategic and systematic in what we are going to do. We need to have long-term plans that say that, okay, this is what you want to do. We want to produce maybe 20% of our pharmaceutical needs within this period of time, or 30%. What do we need to do? We need a expertise on the continent. How do we get the expertise? We need to deliberately train people to do that. How do we train them? Do we take them out to train, rebuild it here? So that is what we need to be deliberate. But then when it comes to manufacturing, it's not just about the industry, it's also about government policies that support it. So this comes again to the strong leaders. There must be a relationship between the regulator, there must be a relationship between the ministry, which represents the government, on what must be done. Then the industry comes in to push their agenda forward that this is what we want to do. We must produce this because it is a win-win for everybody. We are assured of the quality of the material, we are assured of the access. And then there's also the other job creation that the politicians need. So having a comprehensive proposal that says that this is what we want to do, this is how we're going to get it, is what we need to do to make sure that these our desires are achieved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adela. That is well said. Being deliberate, long-term plan, setting up systems, strategies, expertise, the training and the capacity, the know-how of doing it, stakeholders collaboration. This is not just an industry issue. The NRA must be on board. Every other stakeholder must be on board so that we are able to move forward. So we have to come together and be able to move forward. Then I have Sarah here, and she's saying, can you advise as to how to practically implement the system of a backup QPPV, please? I'll start. She has several questions, but I want to start with that one.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll share with you what we did in Ghana so that you can see how best it can be done. When we started, the focus was get industry to understand the need for the mandatory requirement for them to have a system. Get industry to then have the qualified persons for vigilance. Industry should know that the QPP should be resident in Ghana, have specific training. So we said there must be backup procedures to be implemented when the QPP is not there. But the QPP might travel for training. The QPP might, by false stick, we are all human. The QPP might be have a child, have to care for a loved one. So under every condition, for business continuity, the QPPB must be there. And so when you say, oh, they realize that there must be somebody, but we did not make the requirement for a backup stringent like we did for the QPPB. What we said was that have a backup. Make sure that you have trained the backup internally to perform the requirement that you want them to do. Have a job description for the backup. During every inspection, we said that we need to see the QPPB and then we need to see the backup there to support. So when these two are requested for, the MAHs are required. But if you go for an inspection and there's no backup, you cite there was no backup. If the QP is not there, the system is not robust, it is shaky. If the QP is not there, what will happen the next day? Maybe that is when a serious safety issue will come up. So by putting this in the guideline that you must have a QPPV, these are the requirements, you must have a backup, these are requirements. And then checking it when you go for the compliance inspection, make sure that they put them in place. Then there was also guidance on who can be a QP. So we don't, for the QPB, it's full-time, but for the backup, we don't expect it to be a full-time. But the backup, when we started, we didn't even request for it to be in Ghana. It could be outside. But as we are developing and becoming stronger, people are having a stronger buy-in. We are now saying that the backup must have the same qualification as the QPB, also, which means that they must be resident in Ghana, but they don't have to attend a formal training. once you can provide evidence that the backup has adequate training. And so that is how we went about it. You could use a similar approach to implement the backup in your country. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That was well answered. If you're having a backup QPPV, they must be well qualified as well, like the QPPV who does the roles, because they will definitely be taking over and supporting in the place where the QPPV is not available. So we don't want to see the lapses, but we want to ensure that there is continuity, there is sustainability. That is fantastic. So she also asks, we understand that a QPPV must have only one product. Is this also the case for a backup QPPV?
Thank you. So a QPPV must not have only one product. A QPPV is the responsibility of a marketing authorization holder. So based on the profile of the company, the QPPV has oversight of all the products that is by the marketing authorization holder. So for example, when we go for compliance inspection, we request for the list of products the QPPV has oversight of and act. So it is not a QPP is not for one product, but we request that a QPP should be for one marketing authorization holder, because you don't want the case whereby the QPP is overwhelmed. Even though ideally we want it to be a standalone, we have cases where the QPPs have a percentage of their time for other activities. And so we have to assess that based on the profile of the product that they have responsibility over. Again, the backup must not have only one. So usually we say that the backup is for this company. We have situations in Ghana where we can have a distributor which has oversight of maybe 3 marketing authorization holders. We can have them supporting each other as backup. This is because we want to be realistic. You cannot have an additional person based on the cost of implementation. So to make it feasible, definitely all 6 persons will not be unavailable at the same time. So one is the main QPPV. Another person who maybe has QA activities or regulatory oversight can be the backup for the other person. And that is also acceptable. And these are ways that will make it easier for companies to comply. But it's not about having the requirements, but it's about compliance, something that is feasible and reasonable for the marketing authorization holders to implement.
Very true, very true. Thank you so much, Adela, for answering that question. I have Ahmad here. He's saying majority of NRAs in Africa are struggling with the analysis of PV data, especially in ADR reports, ICSRs, which are collected through electronic database for adverse events, and particularly for national PV databases and VGFlow. In order to make regulatory decisions regarding the safety of medicines, do you also have this challenge at FDA in Ghana? And if you do not, can you share your experiences on what you did to be able to analyze PV data and make appropriate regulatory decisions?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, I mean, the whole essence of safety is collect and analyze the PV data. So, I think last time I saw we are moving from just collecting the data to analyzing and utilizing the data, because that's where the decision making is. And it's one of the challenges, not in a negative way, but the things that all NRAs want to do and become master of. Persons who use VG Flow, for example, have all the analytics that are coming in. And I think they have the option of extracting the data into different forms that they can analyze. In Ghana, we use mainly our in-house data, that's the safety watch system. The safety watch system also provides these analytics on what data is collected. I'll give an example of what we did during the COVID-19 with all the data coming in. When the data comes in through the electronic, it's also transferred into basic Excel sheets where you can actually analyze the data. The FDA sometimes gets support from research institutions to look at the safety data that we have received and what is the safety issue that we can identify from it. And if you look at our publications on the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, that's one of the things that we did. You need to prioritize what data are you looking for or what analysis do you want to make ahead of time. Then based on the analysis, you then, the analysis of the data you're looking for, then now say which approach to go. If it's about signal detection, you have either the qualitative or the quantitative way to go about it. But if you look at general what you have, basic analytics can give you that information. Then from there, you can drill and see if something is coming up, and then do a more detailed signal analysis from there. But then in the case where NRS cannot do it on their own, they can also always collaborate with research institutions, the universities, who might have expertise in this to analyze their data for more informed decisions.
Thank you so much, Adela, for that. When it comes to PV, there is a lot of data to collect, to analyze, so that you may be able to report. And these capacities, when it comes to the data, handling the data, how to interpret it, also is something that has also been a challenge for PV professionals within the industry. But we are here to support with the trainings that you have shared with us as well. It would be nice if professionals would take up that chance and just get to the training so that they can have the capacity. But we truly appreciate that you are enlightening us today. So I have Diogratias here. He's saying, great presentation, Adela. How can individuals apply for the mentioned fellowship? And is there a sponsorship for the fellowship program?
Okay, thank you very much. So yes, the program is open for individuals. However, our discussions currently, which we want to model it after our clinical trial, RCORE, is where you get sponsorship and then you pay for the participants, because most NRS do have challenges with funding these activities. So for our CT RCORE like this, over the year, they've had a sponsorship from HIVE, from the German Institute, to do the activity, from EDCTP to the activity. So where they have maybe 10 people that they can fund, including accommodation, tuition, and airfare, everything, which is provided. That is the kind that we are modeled under. The current one that we are doing is for NRAs, and it is also funded by a funding agency. But for now, if an individual wants to attend, then they might have to do the funding on their own, or they can apply for funding from agencies that are prepared to support that activity.
Thank you so much. I hope, dear directors, your question has been answered. Then I have Jessica here. She's saying, I understood that the PV regulations are applicable to MAHs, which means for registered products in Ghana. Do you know if there are any regulations which apply on PV of medicinal products which are imported on a special import permission basis, for example, foreign MAH?
Could you clarify the question again? I didn't hear the last part.
She's saying, I understood that the PV regulations are applicable for MAHs, which means for registered products in Ghana. Do you know if there are any regulations which apply for PV, which apply on pharmacovigilance of medicinal products, which are imported on a special import permission basis?
Okay, thank you very much. So again, I didn't hear the last part. So even for products that are imported, it's not the case that we have on a named basis products that are for special conditions which do not have an MAH, where, for example, a prescriber will ask that they want to import this for a particular patient. Even with that, we do not have the full requirement. The minimum requirement is reporting of safety issues. So when you give the approval to that healthcare provider who is requesting by prescription for that named person, request that you make sure you report safety issues to the Food and Drugs Authority following use of the product. So this one, because it's not MAH, it's not something that you have all the legal implications. But then if you realize there's a safety cause do not report, the next time it might be challenging for the FDA to approve another application for you. So you have companies that import, for example, Konya, and they'll be submitting zero reporting, which is what they have to do. It's not just about not reporting, but then submit even zero reporting to let us know that for that special importation that you've done, there was no adverse reaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Adela. I have 3 more questions for you here on the chat box. I have Damaris for you, and she's asking, in a suspected drug safety crisis, how should the pharmacovigilance team coordinate a rapid benefit risk review and communicate findings to the public and the regulatory bodies, bearing in mind that we have a great knowledge gap?
Okay, thank you very much. So one of the key things that every NRA, I don't know whether you're saying this, special NRA or even a marketing authorization holder has to do is it's public trust. Now, if the NRA has the public trust, or if the MH has the public trust, then it's easy to do a benefit assessment rapidly and give the information to the general public. When I say public trust, I mean that the NRA, for example, should be able to assure the people that they have stringent procedures and that they take the necessary regulatory action to ensure the safety of their people. If patients or the country people know that the company, the MH, the NRA is stringent, they follow right procedures. For example, maybe we have been assessed at WHO at a certain level, then that confidence is there. How can you build that confidence? Constant relationship with the public. You should not leave knowledge gaps. You should let the people know that, yes, these are your processes. If there's a new safety issue or a new product that is authorized, you do FAQ so that people know that this is the information. Then when there's a safety issue, you must have a standing expert committee that is going to review that safety issue and then let you be able to communicate. One of the key strategies the FDA has used is that when we are making these safety issues, we do not do it on our own alone. We always call for external independent experts to be part of the decision making, because these independent experts have field information. They are the ones who are prescribing the medicine. So we will give them the scientific data, give them the information from other countries, what is being done. And then because the expert committee is already a standing committee, when they come with their different expertise, they would analyze and say that this is the decision, so that the public does not think that because the NRA is the one that approved the product, they are trying to cover up information. But if the information is coming from an independent person, they trust it. And that these names of these persons are always published on our website. So I'll give you the case of the COVID-19 vaccines that were introduced. There are several safety issues that came up. Some countries suspended vaccination activities, but because we had collected data, we had country data, and we're continuously reviewing that country data with independent experts whose information was available on the website. When we send out that information, people understand that, yes, this is the correct information. And we're not waiting for a crisis to give them the information. We're practically giving them the information. So it is not out of the blue that you can build trust. It should be a strategic and deliberate thing that every NRA should seek to do. Provide public information, communication with the public on a periodic basis. Have sessions where you just go to the radio station or TV station to provide information. Publish information about safety of products on your website. Let them know what the FAQs are on a particular product. When we're introducing the RTSS vaccine, there were FAQs. When we're introducing the COVID-19 vaccine, there were FAQs on the safety issues, on the registration procedures, on radically the safety data recorded in-house. So when this happens, there's no vacuum. People know that if I want the safety data, where do I go? The trusted source is this website. Let me go there. If it takes time, said, okay, we are evaluating the information. We are also collaborating with our international partners for what decisions they are taking and what activities they are doing. And when you're able to do that and come up and say, okay, based on collaboration, based on our scientific analysis with our independent persons, this is the advice. People will trust you because that relationship is already there. But you do not keep them away and then all of a sudden there's a safety issue that now come to tell them something. It will really not work most of the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adela, for answering that. When it comes to trust, even in the industry, it's something that must be built, and how we manage our relationships with other stakeholders within the industry to make the work very seamless for everyone is very much required. Thank you so much. So I have some more questions for you here, but before we go ahead, to our participants, I would like you to join me on menti.com so that we can get some feedback from you. Let us know how you found the session today and what other areas maybe you'd like for us to cover in the near future when it comes to issues and matters pharmacovigilance. So please join me on menti.com. The code is as displayed on your screen. It is 79286990. The Menti code is 79286990, and we will be able to have your feedback and be able to address the issues that maybe would like for us to continue having discussions on so that we can improve the pharmaceutical sector in Africa. Thank you so much. So to Adela, I have Olumise here. His name is Peace. And she says, thanks Adela for the very impressive work at the FDA and on the continent. Concerning the GVP model, what considerations and adaptations are being made to factor in the global structure and systems of processes of global multinationals?
Thank you very much. So we appreciate that global multinationals already have existing systems that our system needs to feed into. And because of that, we've had discussions with them over the period to see how this can be done. One of the key things, for example, is that if we look at the job description of the QPPV, if there are activities that are outsourced to the global level, we just need to see that there's a note that this is done on a global basis. But we also need to see that there are local procedures that the QPPV does when it comes to PV activities that they have to implement. So we try to say that a QPPV or a PV system must be localized. It must be in the country. It cannot be outside the country because there's need for prompt action when there's a safety issue. So have that. Let us see how the local person works with a global company. You don't have to have a whole new data system for the Ghana system. You use the big data system that the global company is using. We don't expect to have a whole new literature review process you have. If there's literature process that is being done, you just need to verify that are the literature that we expect you to look at locally, are they in that system that they are doing internationally? So our system is seamless. As I said, that we're actually doing a conductor inspection now. We recognize the local QPPV, we recognize regional systems, and we see how they feed into the global system. So that is how it is done. If you are collecting, for example, PSURs or PBRES, we do not say make a new pre-BRAC for us all together as done FDA. But we say that bring the most current one at the time that we are requesting for, whether it is renewal or there's the surgical consent that we are requesting for. We accept EU RMPs or global RMPs that are submitted. Just make sure that if there are differences in epidemiology in Ghana indication, then you make those adjustments to show us. So we're not saying create a whole new system special for Ghana if it's a multinational country, but make sure that there is a system that can be identified in Ghana. There's a QPPV that is in Ghana. There are local procedures for collecting and evaluating the safety data, but this should be in line with the global procedure that you have and fit in the global procedures. So that is what we do. And continuously we engage with the QPPV during our annual forum to find out is there something that we can do better to improve it. And we take the feedback and implement it. So that is how we are going about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And he also says, how has this difference been observed in the inspection of generic companies versus global MAHs? A common trend recently observed in the inspection on the continent is that the structure of global companies has not been adequately taken into consideration and benchmarked with what is obtainable in other countries globally and outside Africa, also globally and outside Africa, also implementing GVP standards.
Yes, so I think that when we review the generic companies, or let's say if it's a generic multinational, their systems are quite similar to the ethical or the innovator multinationals because they're also in different countries have big databases and processes that are running from their global to their local companies. But the key difference that you see is within the local manufacturing companies and the international companies. For the international companies have been practicing these for some time. They have the procedures, and they have the systems and the structures. They have the databases that support signal management. They have the process that support development of RMPs and compilation of PSR. And this is not really what we are seeing in the local company. The local company need more effort because there are also more generic companies. you actually ask them that some of this information is actually available on the internet that you can access. And we have more closer relationship with them on how to go about it. But minimum requirements are also expected. You must collect the data, and that's the basic thing. If a generic company, we don't expect you to put together a whole RMP. If there's a risk minimization measure that is being implemented by an innovator company, we let you know that this risk minimization measure is being implemented, and you must also comply with that risk minimization measure. And that's how we support the local companies, because they do not have as much resources as the international companies to implement the requirement. So the difference is within local and international companies, but not necessarily between generic and innovator companies. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for elaborating that. At least now, Peace has the right knowledge and know-how, the know-how on how he will go about this now, seeing that the issue is not with the generic or the product, but with the organization and how it is as well. Then I have Kennedy here for you, and he says, thank you, Adela. Do you require MAHs to establish local PV systems at the point of product registration?
Yes, so that is required, and that's what we are moving to. You know that FDA, we implemented this based on a risk-based approach. So we started with the innovator companies, then we went over to the high-risk companies. Those are vaccine, biologicals, products. Then we went to local companies, and then we are gradually have a risk-based approach where we roll on companies. So if a company at the time of registration is assessed as high risk based on the products that they have, then that company must come in with the PV system. And that was what was required for all the COVID-19 vaccines. But most of the companies that are in now, identical company or the innovator company, already have the PV systems. So what we do is that we work with the registration department. They know what the requirements are. So when you come with an application, then they'll say that please refer to the guideline that's about how a PV system in Ghana, and then they'll copy us in that letter. So we can also follow up to make sure that the companies or the new company that is now coming in has a QPPV and have established a PV system in Ghana. So that collaboration in the NRA must be done to make sure that progressively any new company that comes in is assessed and then asked to implement the system as needed. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we have just a few minutes remaining to the end of this session. And if you have any questions, I'm really doing my best to see if we can answer at least all, if not all, then most of the questions. But please keep sharing your feedback with me so that this information can help us and help inform the next topic that we are going to bring, so that we can be able to help you and also help the industry as well and our regulators, because we cannot do without them. So Adela, I have Anne Maxwell here for you. And she says, with the help of Ghana FDA as an RCORE, how can we encourage more African countries to report to VGBase? And if there are any challenges hindering this, how does Ghana FDA as an RCORE support?
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe again, we have to say that what is the benefit of a PV system is identify safety issues. The power of identifying safety issues is in bigger databases. Now, if you're a PV center, you cannot decide not to report to VGBase. It's required, it's part of the system. That is why they also even support with providing VGFlow, so that if country cannot afford their own database, then it means that they'll have to use VGFlow. Every country is responsible as part of global patient safety to collect data and then submit it to VGBase. If you do not submit the information to VGBase, then you are not helping global patient safety. Even the power of safety signals identification is reduced. So we must first understand the purpose of our work as PV experts, our people working in PV, to identify safety issues so that we can put in measures to make the medicines safer for everybody. And that can be done when we do signal identification. And that can only come through reporting of ICSRs and into the right places. So even when we are doing training in Ghana, we say that, yes, if you're a healthcare facility, you can identify that this product causes an adverse drug reaction. you decide not to give it to your client. But what about the next client who will come for that product, who is not in your facility? It's the same analogy. If a country collects that data and they do not share it with VGBs, how will Nigeria, for example, if Ghana kept our data to ourselves, how will Nigeria have that enough data for it to show us a signal for us to take the necessary regulatory action? So we must share our data. There's no other way. We must share our data. So it's part of, and I believe that every national center has that understanding that the data must be shared. If you do not share the data, then we are not really doing what we need to do. It's not going that far, it's not getting that impact. So we must share that data to make sure that the signals are being identified and then the safety issues are being identified, the necessary regulatory actions are being taken. So we just have to understand that we must share the data, and that is the sentence that we must tell everybody. What are the challenges? Most of them will be internet to be able to put the data there. So what can be done about it? And that is what we need to see: stronger internet systems in our NRS. For example, you can have a dedicated router that is just for the data person who is entering the data, and that is what we do in FDA. Sometimes the whole bandwidth of the NRA, because of the load on it, cannot satisfy all of us, because when they're entering data, some of them needs a lot of bandwidth. So what do? We have dedicated data, dedicated server for managing our safety database, and this is what is supported. So the case must be made to our management, the heads of the NRA, that we must share our data, otherwise we are not being PB experts in our profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adela. When it comes to the issue of sharing data amongst the NRAs, stakeholders, it is usually an issue. And I think as a continent, as stakeholders within the industry, that is, we need to come to that place where we can share data so that we can help each other. When you see that we need to make an improvement in West Africa, we need to make an improvement in East Africa, how then do we come to the place where the data that we have collected can be able to help us to make an informed decision? And just as I had said, with PV, data is very critical. We cannot move forward without that data. The data is what informs our regulatory decisions that we will take moving forward. So I have one last question for you here. You had spoken about the support that Ghana FDA offers to other NRAs in attaining maturity level 3 when it comes to vigilance functions. Could you please highlight some of the specific ways in which Ghana FDA supports other NRAs to attain ML3 within the continent?
Okay, thank you very much. So one of the things that we do, which is what we've been doing, is that we work with the NRA based on an MOU to, for example, look at their benchmarking outcomes. Because with the GBT, you can do a self-benchmarking before you go for the formal benchmarking. So when the NRA does their self-benchmarking, we can do a benchmark, an assessment of that self-benchmarking, see what the IDPs are, that the institutional development plans are, and then guide them on how to implement these in a way that is acceptable for the GBT requirement. For example, if you look at which procedures you must have, which guidance document for these procedures, so help them develop the SOPs, help them develop structures for processing of the ICSR, help them to see how they're going to collaborate with public health programs, help them to have structures for management of their database, of their RMPs, for their PSURs. So this is the kind of activity that we do. So go through all the indicators that are there, look at what you have, look at the IDP that you need to implement, and then guide you through how this can be done. And with that, be able to go for the benchmarking again, based on our experience, because we've done it twice, and we support other countries to be able to get to the desired ML3.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adela, for that response. It is very critical that we continue to support the NRAs who are still within their early stages so that they can be able to come to the place where they're also able to sustain themselves and be able to meet and be able to help their citizens when it comes to ensuring the safety and efficacy of medicine and the health products within their countries as well. Even when it comes to the issue of resources, there is critical. This is a very critical issue when it comes to having the right resources to be able to do the work, even at with the NRAs, with the stakeholders and everything. But for us, it is just for us as an organization, as APN, we continue to offer this platform so that we come and share this. It is still in this industry industry discussion forum where you can meet an individual or a partner who is able to collaborate with you so that you're able to get the right resources, the right support, so that you're able to move forward. So even when it comes to that issue, please, please, please do not shy away from seeking that assistance. You can reach out to Ghana FDA through their website. Their contacts are there. They will be able to support you. We also have Adela here. She will also be able to support you. So thank you so much. I don't want to lock anyone out. If you feel you have any question that you'd like to be answered by Adela, we are in the last few minutes of this session. We are almost wrapping up. Please don't let me lock you out, but I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you for joining us for this industry discussion forum. And I want to believe that you have found it informative, that you have gained something. But I want to reiterate on what Adela has said, especially when it comes to capacity. For you as a HCP, as a professional, pharmacovigilance professional in the continent of Africa, you need to have the right knowledge, the skill, the capacity, so that you are able to fulfill your functions for the benefit of the organization that you are working for compliance purposes with the NRA, and also for the safety of the public. Without that capacity, we are not able to move forward. So I am calling upon each and every one of us. You are in the field of pharmacovigilance. Please, please, please get the right training. Get the right training, have the right knowledge, follow the regulations. If you are in Ghana, you have seen the presentation, what is expected of you in the regulations and the laws that are provided in your land. You also have to adhere to these, be in compliance to them, so that the work continues to move forward. So get the right training. Even at African Pharmaceutical Network, we are offering the pharmacovigilance and patient safety training. This is a training that takes only 12 weeks for you to complete it and you attain your certification. It has been weighed. The training has been awarded the FIP seal, the seal of recognition by the Federation. So in all this, we are saying that you must have the right knowledge, the right know-how. Don't wait until the last minute that you have a job and you don't have the capacity. And then Adela is coming to your organization for inspection, and you are not meeting the regulation. Please let us do the right thing and let us continue to support each other. We are here to support you as APN. Ghana FDA is also here to support you as an RCORE in pharmacovigilance. We have the ALUDA, NEPAD, we have Africa CDC. It is all about collaboration. It is all about collaboration. We cannot move forward without you. We must move forward with you. And with that, I would like to bring this session to an end. And Adela, I want to say thank you so much to you and to Ghana FDA for accepting our invitation to come and share in this industry discussion forum. This is what we were here for, that we may learn from the experiences of Ghana, the perspectives of Ghana, the best practices that are in Ghana. So our heartfelt, please receive our heartfelt gratitude to you and to Ghana FDA. To George is here with us as well. Thank you so much. And before I wrap it up, I just want to welcome you if you have any final remarks that you may share with us, because it has been an honor and a privilege to just listen and receive insights from you. So I'll welcome you. Let me welcome George first, then Adela, because you are our presenter, you can share the final remarks, then we will call it an evening. Welcome, George. Thank you so much. All right, George is here, the representative from ISoP Africa chapter. George, if you can hear me, I am welcoming you to share any final remarks with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lucy. I'm here. So, thank you so much, Adela, for this presentation. That was you we do in Ghana, and I'm looking for strengthening your regulatory system. Ghana is the best on the continent and ISoP Africa. I just want to say for pharmacovigilance, we are doing best to strengthen patient safety on the continent and to improve safety of medicines. So join ISoP today, so together we can build a stronger regulatory system on the continent. And it's for passionate people, it's for people who are interested in ensuring patient safety. So join us today, and I told you the benefit. And if you join us, WG that are working so hard, Kennedy is on the line. Kadila is one of the WG leads, and together we'll build a stronger pharmacovigilance system and improve patient safety on the continent. Thank you so much, Lucy, in ISoP Africa and Ghana FDA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much. We welcome each and every one of us to collaborate and participate so that we are able to move forward. And ISoP Africa chapter is here to help each and every one of us. So let us get on board and let's get moving, have the right conversations and move forward. So Adela, over to you. Thank you so much, George. Doc, you're speaking, but you're on mute. You are on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed. So I'd like to say thank you so much for the opportunity given to the FDA to share our experience. And this is what we want to do. This is what we love to do. Because as I said, we believe that it's not just about strengthening system in Ghana, but for the whole African continent. And so we are available for these sessions and to share our experience. But the key things I like, as I say, what you've hammered is we must build the necessary capacity so that we can be able to be confident when we are performing our duties. One of the things that the NRS will also realize is that collaboration is key. Collaboration is key. And we cannot do it all by ourselves, but we must rely on people who have done it, people who have the experience to help us. One of the things that I do with the ML3 country that we want to support, it was not even funding, it was a proposal that we wrote. So we want to help this NRA because we've been working with them already. It was a good opportunity. So then they provide the funding for that kind of activity. So when we work together, we're able to provide the resources that we need. And finally, as you all know, PV is about passion. That is what has brought us all this far. So let's keep the passion alive and let's continue to do our best for patient safety. So thank you very much, and I wish all of us the very best in our endeavors. Bye.
Thank you so much, Adela. Thank you so much for taking us through this industry discussion forum. We truly appreciate it. Thank you, George, for joining us as well, sharing the overview of ISoP Africa chapter and accepting to collaborate with us. As we have said, we are not doing this alone. We are doing it with other stakeholders. We are doing with the NRAs. We are working with the organizations such as ISoP Africa chapter so that we are able to move forward. So don't do it alone, do it with others. So thank you so much, even to our participants, for making time and joining us for this industry discussion forum. We had prepared it exclusively for you because we want to support you, we want to help you, we want you to know that you are here and we are also here to help you. So for the work that you are doing, we are equally passionate about it and we are ready and willing to work with you. So let us work together. And thank you so much for joining us. I wish you the very best in your endeavors. Feel free to reach out to us at any given time. Our courses are still rolling out in this entire year. If you require any talent, any support, please feel free to reach out to us. If you require connections as well, we will be glad to connect you with the right stakeholders within the industry. So thank you so much. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord give you peace. May the good Lord establish you in your careers and in all your endeavors. Thank you so much. From the APN fraternity, I say thank you. So thank you and God bless you. Do have a lovely, lovely week ahead. Thank you so much, Adela. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you and goodbye. Goodbye.
Hello, bye. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.